Well, welcome back to Roast and Toast, your BBFM podcast. You are with the Baldy Baker. And tonight, we're not going to be doing a lot of roasting. We're going to be doing more toasting because I've decided to talk on a topic called mental health. I'm going to be here for a short while, probably about the next 15 minutes, and just to talk a little bit about what mental health is and what are some of the issues that is related to it as well. And of course, when we're talking about mental health, it feels very foreign sometimes. And why does it feel foreign? Because sometimes we feel that it doesn't happen to you, it happens to someone else, right? But I'm sure everybody, to a certain extent, do go through their own. Do go through a certain amount of depression, feeling down, and depression are two different things actually. Everybody do feel down. We have got our ups and downs, I'm sure. But when we talk about depression, I think it's a slightly different thing altogether. And I've got an audience in right now. It's actually Jazz, and we've just completed our all hands. But I'm going to be talking a little bit, and if you want to respond to me, I would really love to hear from you guys as well. And the topic for tonight is actually mental health. And I thought why I wanted to talk about mental health, because this is something which I feel is not spoken a lot in Malaysia. This is something which is quite common over in the States or in the Western countries or in Australia or in the UK, where you really bring this mental health issues out in the public. People, have focus groups talking about how do we deal with mental health issues. Obviously, the big issues of mental health is depression and suicide. It's real. And I have the privilege actually to have a friend, a very close friend, who's actually a counseling psychologist, not so much of a clinical psychologist, a counseling psychologist, where they deal with, and it is still, in a way, not so much in the public. It's still a very underground. I'm not sure whether you want to call it underground, because it's not really a big thing over in Malaysia, where you go to a therapies for certain issues or talk about stuff. But I think it's becoming more apparent right now. For me, I would tell you that I go through my own bouts of depressions, my own bout of feeling down and stuff like that. I think every one of us do have, to a certain degree. It's not a joke. It's real. It affects everyone. It's just a matter of how deep, how big, how great it is. And for some of us, we may be able to handle them better than the others. Some of us are better at hiding it. And I'm not here to judge, because personally, I think I've got lots of issues that I got to deal with actually. But ultimately, it takes a lot for someone to admit that they do have an issue, or if they're suffering from depression. And if any one of you are going through the same, or feeling, that you're going through some form of depression, I think the most important thing about, or when we're dealing with depression, if we think we are going through some form of depression, I think the most important thing is to talk. It's just to talk. To talk to someone. It makes a lot of difference. I think we are such human beings. We are such a spiritual emotion, a being. We are very emotional, although some are better really at managing their emotions, and some are really better at being able to manage it with the head, this whole mind, body, soul kind of thing, this head and heart and the hands, this tripartite. And it's something which we all got to learn how to deal with as well. That's why people say that you got to have a very strong mental mind to be able to manage even your heart, how you feel. I'm one, I would admit, I don't think I'm the person to be talking about this topic, but I want to raise this topic because it is a serious topic. It's a big issue. And what are some of the symptoms that a person who is suffering from depression, how would they feel? I think one of the things that it's very evident, it's very obvious, is when they go on a victim mentality. It's like I'm always on the losing end. I'm always missing out. I'm not good enough, and that's the thing, that kind of language that you will hear from someone who's actually going through some form of depression and suffering. Of course, there are various stages. When you talk about it, how do you know and what you go through? The first stage is denial. The second stage is anger, and then the third stage is bargaining before you actually go down to depression and finally ending with suicide. And that is actually a very sad stage to be in. But I think, like I said, like we all go through some form. I'm not saying that we are. I'm not saying that you are, but we do, go through some form. Some of the symptoms are self-sabotaging. Just giving up hope, just giving up on life, wallowing in self-pity, and always constantly feeling like you're not good enough, basically. Well, I think the issue here when we talk about is it's hi Ryoko, hi. Well, the topic that I want to talk a little bit, I'm going to be ending in the next 8 minutes, but I think it's important for us to realize sometimes that there is always a place for support. There's always a place that you can seek help. We are never perfect, no matter how strong you think you are, no matter how strong your mind is. I guess sometimes when, Propians are here. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. I love you too. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm very glad that you guys are here as well, to listen to what I've got to say tonight. Tonight is I really want to toast people who are actually going through depression, and not but to really give a shot credit. It's not easy. It really is not easy. It takes a lot to actually admit first, and it takes a lot to actually get out of it. But I also want to toast to the people around, being immersed with friends, people who understand, people who will listen. Because actually it's very difficult, because you cannot tell somebody who's actually going through a depression or feeling totally down, or unsure, confused, to tell them get out of it, snap out of it. You can't. You just can't. You can't snap out of it. It's not as easy as saying snap out of it and you're done. And that's the part about people who are going through some form of this. It is a certain. There is this. It is an illness. It is a certain illness. That's why it's connected to a mental health. The ability for us to constantly remain positive. I mean, let's be honest. It's not easy. And sometimes it's so hard for us to actually identify whether a person is really going through some form of depression, especially if they have a very positive disposition. They're always outgoing. Sometimes you don't know someone's suffering until it's too late. Exactly. And I was just about to use Robin Williams' example as well. A person who's very cheerful. Actually, it's weird, because you see him, he's entertaining people. He is so jovial. He's so he's full of life. He's such an exorbitant personality. Exorbitant, wrong word, not exorbitant. He's such an extroverted personality. He's full of life, so boisterous. Yet at the same time, most of these behaviors do belie the real feeling that's going through. It does. And it's so hard to identify. It really is so hard to identify. You're not sure whether is it really a facade, or is that the person that is. I would actually say it's the person. It's not a facade. It's just. Now I know some people may not agree to this, because I've just spoke to a friend, and I was saying that I do a lot of corporate training. So we do a lot of corporate training. We do also try and understand in terms of personalities, and in terms of how people are wired. In some ways, people are extroverted. You're more inclined. I'm not saying that you are who you are like that, but you're more inclined to be an extrovert, to be an introvert. Although you can actually switch your mind to it, and that's a very interesting. There's a very interesting study on that. That actually you can switch. But actually, even within the personality type profiles, you do actually have those situations where you can adapt. You may not necessarily prefer that particular personality type. Like I'm an extrovert. I am someone who really needs a platform like this to it's like it's a release outlet. It is an outlet for a release, you know. So being under lockdown, you can be also in a stressful situation. You can't go out. You know, you don't know. It's like there's no release. So I think, yeah, it is important first and foremost to really admit it first, to admit that you do have a problem, and number two, to really go out there and just immerse yourself with people who understands you, get that support, speak to people, and it's not as if it's going to go away. It's not as if it's going to solve the problem straight away, but it does give that person a sense of hope. I think that's the most important thing. Once the moment you lose hope, and that's something about human life, isn't it? It is always when there is a hope. That's why it's about dreams. That's why it's about reaching out to something. I mean, sometimes we don't reach it, we don't achieve it, we don't get it, and we get devastated, we get heartbroken, and sometimes we think we lose hope. Of course, these are just a cycle that is constantly going on and on and on. Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is actually a not so much of a BBFM radio channel tonight. I normally do that on Saturday and Sundays, but I've decided that every Friday I'm going to have a short 15 or 20 minutes where we can talk about certain topics, certain issues, content. And if you want to actually also respond to it, I really accept. And Ryoko was saying, admit, accept, get support, set a habit, and do it consistently with new baby steps. This is gold. This is gold. Thank you so much, Ryoko, for sharing that. And I'm sure we all can take a leaf out of that as well, especially if someone who's not as extroverted, example, an introverted person. I don't like to actually over classify people as an extrovert or an introvert, because sometimes you tend to put people into a box. It is also important for us to understand that each one of us are unique. We can adapt to those different situations. We can be introverted if we want to. We can be extroverted if we want to. But there's a preference. Each one of us, we do have a preference. And that's why sometimes we say people are wired that way. Yeah, you're wired that way. But you can also do some cross-wiring and, change the make. And it's all up here. And that's why it's so important for us to have a very strong mental, to be strong mentally. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's exactly what I hope that we'll be able to do with one another, with each other, and don't play the victim, don't wallow in self-pity, take control. And I think it's the same topic that I spoke last week. Incredible change can happen the moment we actually decide and take control and decide on doing the things that we want to do. Sometimes I remind myself that all the time as well. We all have the ability to make a change. We all have that ability to decide and do the things that we're going to do. Sometimes we just need small reminders to remind us we are of value. We don't need affirmation. But if we do, I think it's important for us to stay among people that appreciates us for who we are. So, well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I am so glad that you are here with me tonight. I come back every Friday for my BBFM podcast. I am still deciding what kind of topic I'll talk about. I told you, the whole of last week, I was like thinking, what topic do I want to talk about? What topic do I want to talk about? But I might come back with this topic again, because this is a really interesting topic, and it was just the spur of the moment that I thought maybe I can just raise this issue a little bit, since it's not a very publicly spoken topic in Malaysia, and maybe we can raise more awareness about that as well. And I do know a lot of people who are themselves psychologists that can really talk about this as well. And hopefully we can invite some people to actually share their thoughts about mental health issues and how we can deal with them as well. So good. So let's start with that as well, right? All right, guys, thank you so much. And maybe it's time for me to go, because Tomorrow is another long day. So thank you so much. I'll be back tomorrow for BBFM, Barley Baker FM, and entertaining you for with music, the 80s music all over again. All right. So guys, thank you very much, and stay safe, stay home, protect yourself and family, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Cheers.